Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. This is Webster Tarpley reporting from Beirut. Remember to keep up with all this at tarpley.net. You can get hopefully we'll soon have the stuff up from my interviews with Syrian television, 2 interviews from Damascus on Thursday. A couple of things. There's a press TV appearance at the press conference here in Beirut, and yet another short item on the Syrian correspondent here in Beirut. Now, one of the members of this interesting delegation that I've been traveling around with is Georges Marc, who is from Paris, France, and he has an interesting website called Media Libre that you can take a look at, especially if you can read French. And if you can read English, you ought to be able to read French. Not that different, especially in the area of sort of abstract political stuff. Give it a try. You might be surprised how much you can understand. Now, we're going to get him back later in the program to talk about exactly things that he saw in the context of the second hour. But right now, let me just ask Georges Marc to talk about the geopolitics of this, right? Because when you sit here in Syria, it's Syria, Lebanon, it's different than being in Libya. In Libya, the main ramifications are what's going to happen in Africa, right? What's going to happen in Chad, Mali, Upper Volta, places like this. But when you're here in Syria, this immediately gets you into Hezbollah and Iran and the Russians and the Chinese, right, who at least had the guts to veto that resolution. So just on the geopolitics of this, the way the world looks from Damascus or Beirut, Georges Marc.
Yes, thank you, Webster. Well, I think that the situation is that USA is just totally poursuivre. It just follow the politics he has in this area since the war against Iraq. And we had a debate here about the question if USA won or lost his war on Iraq. I know maybe you think they lose it, but I think they win it. I think they have a global political vision for Middle East. I think they lost a few people in Iraq, if you look how many people live in the USA. And they took the control of the petrol. They destroyed the state of Iraq, and I think it was the goal of the war. And afterwards, they go twice in Iraq. Afterwards, they go to Afghanistan. They take the control of the petrol, lost also a few people. Afterwards, they go to Libya. They took also the control of petrol and destroy the state. And now they're trying to do the same thing in Syria. They want to destroy the state because this state can oppose himself to the USA political view in the area and the Zionist, the Israeli political view in the area. But one thing we don't speak at all is the opposition between USA and China. I think it's one of the reasons of this political choice in the area from the USA, because we know that China hasn't any petrol. It is one of his difficulties, and some politicians of America think that if America don't manage to take the control of the petrol before a few years, China will become the first power in the world. And I think that's the reason why they want quickly take the control of the area, take the control of the petrol to in a war against China, which is never evocated because it is never far from their attention. Okay. And the first reason for me, the war against China, and I think is going. It's in a good way for USA. And the second thing is Israel. One thing was very strange is the reaction of Israel about the Orange Revolution, the Arabic Revolution, because those revolutions are against Israel, most of them, and we see that some some Muslim party were close to the power in Tunisia, in Egypt, and despite of that, Israel approve this evolution, saying the democracy is improving, and everybody could see on the internet some videos of manifestation in Egypt where you can see millions of people saying we are coming to Jerusalem. So Israel should have been very scared about that. And instead of that, they were quite happy about the situation. So I think that in addition to the war between the USA and China, there is a specific war from Israel, which wants to reach its goal, which is a big Israel. Maybe that the fact that some power will become Muslim power in a few years will give them the occasion to attack their neighbors, and especially Egypt, but maybe also Syria and Jordan, to reach their political goal. That's what I wanted to say. I would like to know what you think about that.
Well, certainly some of that makes a lot of sense. I would just say, I think when you look at the question with Iraq, it's this has led to bankruptcy and internal political crisis, a further degeneration of the political situation and what have you. Although there is this obviously the Chinese angle is there. If you really the approach I would have, of course, to China is compete, right? Give them a peace race. Don't fall back on sabotaging everybody else's economic development, but push your own economic development forward. The New Deal shows this can be done, right? You want to have a peace race, you use your Lend-Lease methods, you use your New Deal methods, and away you go. So let me just ask George Mark, any last comments about what you've seen? Right? Any idea, where do you think this is going? Right? What's the future for this region?
Well, what I see is that the situation is exactly the opposite of that situation which is described by media. People is effectively scared, but not about his power, not about his government in Syria.
Not about Assad.
Yes, but he's scared about terrorists, and that's what. And we didn't hear a word about that in mainstream media. But I am pessimistic about the situation because I think that the USA will push until the failure of the Syrian state. And if they don't manage to do it in a political way with terrorism or civilian war, I think they are going directly to war in a few years, in a few months maybe. And afterward, I think they will do something with Iran, which is the next on the list.